Okay, Committee on Economic Development, come to order if the clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Dion.
Here.
Counselor Liberty LeBeau
Here.
and Counselor Pereira.
Yes. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person can make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledgeable and permissible. Madam Clerk, do we have any citizen input?
No, we do not.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is the CPA members. We have 4 people who submitted interest in the serving on the board. However, Rick Mancini is one of the names, Caroline Orban, Alexander Silva, and attorney Danielle Pixley. Whereas Mr. Mancini already serves on 2 boards, he wouldn't be eligible per charter to serve on this board. And in a conversation with attorney Pixley, she will remove herself from being on this board and hopes in the future to serve on another board, but felt that people were more than qualified to serve on the board. I know you have the resumes. So the 2 resumes would be from Carolyn Orban, who works at the Historical Society. Pam, you have Counselor.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Council Pereira, could you just repeat that? What did you say about Mr. Mancini? He's already on 2 boards?
Mr. Mancini is on 2 boards. He's on the Historic District and another historical, and the charter doesn't allow for people to be on more than 2 boards.
So just to the clerk, is the CPA one that has to have certain people from certain boards on it? You know how some say they have to have a member of the Historical Society, or they have to have a.
Yes, I'm not certain. I don't have that information right now in front of me offhand as to what boards. I know there's like a housing authority appointee. There's 2 from the council, obviously. But I'm not certain if there is one specific, like to the Historic Commission or any other commission.
Okay. And then I'm sorry, Council Pereira, you said that Attorney Pixley withdrew her.
Yes.
Did she do that through the clerk's office or through?
No, she didn't. I had a conversation with attorney Pixley, and she said, if there's other people on the board, I had talked to attorney Machado, who serves on the board, and there's already an attorney there. Maybe I can be utilized elsewhere. So I don't need to be on it. And that Alexander Sylvia, he is on the Preservation Society, and he's on the AHA. So he volunteers on several things. And I believe Carolyn Auburn, she also, works is at the Historical Society. So I think out of the names that we had, they were decent picks, unless you want to, if it's the committee's choice, to see if there's other people who would want to be on it.
Do I still have the floor?
Yeah, go ahead.
So if that's the case, then I would suggest that we forward the 2 people that are, I know that the CPA did interviews with each of them. I did not watch those. I know that Councilor Dion did go back and watch those interviews. However, if those 2 things have happened, then we have 2 left. I would forward those for the council for their vote.
Are you putting that in the form of a motion? I believe it's an order to the clerk. Doesn't this go back in the form of an order?
It'll go, if that's your desire, it will go, the recommendation would be to forward an order to the full council for adoption, recommending the 2 candidates that you would like to see appointed.
Thank you. Councilor Liberty, do you yield?
I'll yield now. Thank you.
Councilor Dion.
Yeah, I only have a couple of questions. Should we first make sure that Mr. Mancini can't qualify? Is the CPC a little different than a regular board or regular committee? Is it an exception? Do they need somebody from one of those other boards to serve with them? So my question would be, should we pursue that and find out what the answer to that is first? Because I wouldn't want to exclude somebody that shouldn't be excluded.
Well, I had checked and I was told that because he served on 2 boards through the charter, he couldn't serve on this board. And there's already people on that board who serve on other boards to fill those positions of, somebody being appointed by the mayor, somebody being appointed by the council, somebody being on the historical commission, like Mr. Souza, like the chairman of that board, also serves on another board. So he fills that gap.
Okay, so, and then my second question would be, did you, by chance, did anybody ask him if he would want to remove himself from those other boards to be able to serve on the CPC?
I did speak with Mr. Mancini. That's how I found out he was on 2 boards, because my thought was to have all of those participants come to this meeting and share their thoughts. So I had called him and he did say he was on 2 boards already, which I didn't know. And he said, well, if that's the case, then until they merge that board, because they are thinking of merging the historic district and the historic commission to one board, there's talk of that on those specific committees, but that hasn't been done yet, that he would hold off because he enjoyed serving on those boards.
Yeah, that's been in the works for a long, long time. It's a simple ordinance change for that to happen. I had a discussion with the woman on that board who serves in those capacities, and yeah, they had hoped that would have happened quite some time ago, to be honest. All right, so he wouldn't want to remove himself from, but so if those 2 merged, he'd be able to do both, but because they haven't merged, he can't.
Right. Right.
Okay.
The wheels of government.
Yeah, I'll say, hurry up and wait.
Yeah. And Councilor Dion, to that point, if you want to file a resolution for the next meeting to put that to ordinance, to create that change and get that expedited,
Council
I'd be willing to sign on with you on that.
just a point of information, that is already in ordinance and it was already sent to the last Corporation Council where it still is.
So maybe Councilor Liberty can look at finding out what Corporation Council is doing with it and get that.
Yep. That was something that was sent to Judge Macy and not sent back down.
Okay, so maybe then, I know that the CPC has put off discussing funding issues until March because of this delay. By statute, this decision is really supposed to be made by the full council, not by a subcommittee narrowing it down. In light of the fact that if the 2 were to merge, it would not exclude Mr. Mancini, would it make sense to table this, refer to corporate counsel to see if that ordinance has been changed or if that change has been made, and then proceed with this, and then let the 3 people who are eligible go before the council for the vote of the full council? Does that make sense?
Well, to be honest with you, in the past, how we've selected people to go and serve on these committees was that the council would take a vote. They would write down the names of the 2 people, or, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the clerk would count it and we'd have a decision. I don't know that we want to get into interviewing people for boards and commissions on the council floor, or having these people come in. And I think that they've waited long enough. I'm okay with moving it. Mr. Mancini certainly does have expertise in many fields, and does want to participate in any boards that become available, wants to become involved. So, he didn't seem to have an issue with this, but it's up to you if you want to do that. I thought Councilor Liberty had a motion on the floor to send the 2 names to council, and if you don't want to do that, then we don't need to. Councilor Liberty?
Do you yield, Council Dion?
Yeah, I'll yield. Go ahead.
So we have an ordinance committee on Thursday. I had sent the agenda items yesterday. It was, I know that City Hall wasn't open yesterday. I don't know if the agenda's been done yet, but we have till the end of the day, but I'd be happy to put that back on the agenda on the merging of those two boards. It was still on, I don't have it up in front of me, but it was still on there, and I believe it was sent, I know it was sent to prior Corporation Council because I was on ordinance last term. So I'd be happy to put that on the agenda for
Is it
Thursday, and
tabled? Is it tabled in committee, Councilor Hall?
it's still on the list of items, yeah, so it must be.
So it can be lifted from the table at that meeting.
Mm, yeah, it is, but we'd have to put it on the agenda, correct, Kat? Yeah, which is fine. I have till the end of the day for the agenda.
So what's the wishes of the committee?
I'll do that, and I would agree with Councilor Dion if we can do that and give everybody a fair shot at it and send it to full council and not necessarily have the folks come in, but do what Council Pereira had suggested, where we just give our 2 votes. That seems like the right thing to do. Is it still on? We just, Madam Clerk, how would we send it to full council? We just send it to full council with the 3 remaining names?
Because I know the appointments are, they're just for 2 spots open on the CPC. I suppose you could send the 3 names and then have the council take a vote. I would have to check with the city clerk.
Council Pereira, that's how they did it before?
How we did it before was anybody who was interested in serving on the CPA, I think we had 4 or 5 names, and we wrote, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the people that we first liked, second and third, et cetera. And then the clerk tallied them up, and the clerk, gave the lowest scores were obviously the people that were 1s and 2s. And that's how people were put on. This time, they decided to send it to economic development for us to discuss it. Not that
Yeah,
I'm
it seems-
not opposed to it, but I know that in speaking to Jim Souza, he's anxious to get 2 people on the board for the next meeting that they have. So if it can be voted on the 9th,
at our next meeting.
have it, then fine. If not, and we want to send it, I mean, in talking to Mr. Mancini, he had no problem. He would wait, do another board or what have you, until things merged. If they merged and he could be on it, fine. If not, he would go on another board when vacancies became available because he wants to participate in the community.
I yield, Council Pereira.
Councilor Dion.
Yeah, well, in my discussions, like I say, their meetings have been put off till March. So it gives us the time. I just don't want to see somebody be precluded from something if they don't have to be. And by statute, it's really the full council's decision, I guess. But yeah, seeing we have the ordinance meeting for Thursday, if we can just explore that and see if they can merge, and then that way, if he still wants to be a applicant, then at that point, the full council will decide 2 out of the 3 people. I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at.
But just to interject, Councilor Dion, if the ordinance committee has a meeting on the 4th and we find out that we can merge these, we're going to make some changes in the ordinance to merge it. You have first reading, second reading, and enrollment. So by the time that goes through the council, these people are going to miss the March meeting because we'll only have 1 more meeting in February, and then you'll have another meeting the beginning of March. So I'm just wondering about the time. If we're looking at the timeline, fine. Unless you want to do it with an emergency preamble to move it right away, and maybe the assistant clerk can shed some light on that. That's the only thing that I'm concerned with. Because if it does come to ordinance, then you still now, if that was before Attorney Macy and he hasn't been here in a year, then you have to give Attorney Rumsey time to look at it. So from the ordinance, it's going to go to Attorney Rumsey for him to look at it and come back with a decision. to the next ordinance committee meeting, and the next one that was on the 23rd was canceled. So then we might not have one until March. I mean, I personally don't think that Mr. Mancini is upset about this. When I spoke to him, it was, you know, okay. He said, you know, if I'm on two, I want to be on these two. And then if something else comes up, I would, you know, put in a resume to be on another board. But if you'd like to have time to talk to him or what have you, you know, feel free to do that.
Well, I'll go with whatever the majority thinks should be done. Like I say, my concern was just somebody, you know, being omitted if they didn't have to be. So with that, I'll yield.
Thank you. And I understand your concern. Councilor Liberty?
Yep, so I am still trying to schedule a second ordinance committee meeting. I just wanted to be able to have it on a date that all members were available. So I'm sending the clerk dates for a second ordinance committee meeting in February. We could also do it with an emergency preamble. We could also do it the regular way, and the council would know that, you know, it's in the works. But I would make a motion to send all three names to council for consideration.
Would that have to be in the form of an order?
I'm sorry, my puppy is barking. How does it need to go, Counselor?
It would be in the form of an order. The recommendation would be to send an order recommending the two candidates, but if you want to put the three candidates for the position for the CPC appointments. But from there, I don't know, I would have to check with the city clerk to see, because there were only two spots available, then how the council would proceed on taking that vote during the council meeting.
Okay, I know that's happened before where, you know, a committee hasn't, you know, has sent something without feedback to the full council for them to decide. So I'd be willing to send the order for the three people and ask the council to vote on the two.
Okay, so you could send it for action if you would like, and then it could always be amended, obviously, on the floor of the council chamber.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
So the motion would be to recommend the order go to full council with the three candidates being Carolyn Orban, Alexander Sylvia, and Richard Mancini, to go to the council for action.
Yes. Do you need the Attorney Pixley to send any kind of a formal that
The
she's,
withdrawal.
yeah,
I can suggest that. I can ask the city clerk. She can. That would probably be best if she would like to send a formal
I'm just
withdrawal.
thinking ahead to what counselors might ask for that.
Okay. Okay. So on the motion to send the order to full council for action, Counselor Dion,
Yes.
Counselor Liberty LeBeau,
Yes.
Chairman Pereira.
Yes.
Okay.
Seeing no other items on the agenda, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn, Counselor Dion,
Yes.
Counselor Liberty LeBeau,
Yes.
and Chairman Pereira.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you all.